Now, in the previous slide, I indicated that philosophy had kind of gone to the wayside because of the rise of scientific rationalism and because of the hold that organized religion has. What we need to bring forward or reintroduce is the field of mystical scientific investigation. And this is the awareness that because of the vibratory nature of the universe, we do not have to prove everything in order for us to hypothesize or explore about it. And we would necessarily be able to become aware of energy in order to experience things that are beyond what we can measure. So one of the first things that we need to do, and you see this in the fields of Vastu and the use of yantra and in a field called biogeometry, is to understand the nature of space as a pervasive intelligence. We're used to thinking about space as a vacuum because we can't prove anything exists there. But in fact, in the Eastern traditions and in most mystical traditions, space is the goddess. It is the field of consciousness. So we need to be able to interact and explore this field, understanding that there is something there. And quantum physics is starting to show us that what we think is empty space is not. Mystical scientific investigation would also require us to understand the energetics of shape and the interactions of forms with space and with each other. You know, why did these advanced societies almost always build some kind of a pyramid? Why are there pagodas? These things exist because there are energies that are interacting with these structures and influencing the life forms, the people, the inhabitants who live around them. They're not just monuments, they're not just religious sculpture, they are, in a sense, living machines that are doing something with energy. So these types of explorations and awareness of space and form would lead us to organize our thoughts and to catalog different shapes and different forms and their effects in what we in our culture commonly today would consider the fields of sacred space, sacred geometry. And in doing all of this, we would apply a craftsmanship because you can build something or you can build something well. And very few people can make something that's really a craft, that's really refined. And part of the reason that the Japanese and other Asian cultures really kicked America's butt in terms of manufacturing is that in their culture was an appreciation of different forms of craftsmanship, not just manufacturing off the assembly line. So an advanced civilization, when it begins to manifest itself, again, one of its primary goals is going to be the development and transformation of consciousness. So we've already talked about all these different fields such as education, horticulture, healing, etc. But I want to drive the points here home against the background of Teotihuacan, that these pyramids, these ziggurats, these pagodas, these are energetic structures. They're devices which support the transformation of consciousness itself. If you want to have your consciousness transformed, yes, do meditation, do yoga, do these things. But if you want to have an experience, go to these sacred sites. Go to Teotihuacan, go to Machu Picchu, go to these places that call to you. Spend a couple of days there. Don't just come in on the train, in the morning and leave at, 2 or 4 in the afternoon. Stay overnight a couple nights at these places, near these places, and see what kind of an effect they have. Also, transformation of consciousness is brought about through the careful use of ceremony, initiations, and entheogenic substances to support transformation of consciousness. And what I'll say about entheogens is that the visions or the ideas behind building these pyramids, yes, they come through meditation and through arduous fasting and different types of things that you could go through, but the same information also can come to you through entheogens. And the shamans who work in the rainforest and those who work with San Pedro in the mountains of the Andes, they know how to tune into higher information because they're not afraid of plants. They understand how to work with plants and how to use them to transform their consciousness. through the development of the civilization over time, different approaches or methods or arrangements of information and form will come about to support consciousness. And we could consider these advanced technologies. They're not technologies as we have come to develop them. We've come the very long and slow and sort of outward way to develop technologies. I'm talking about spiritual technologies. And these technologies will be used minimally, only where necessary, and integrated into the societal structure and into the artifacts of that structure, including the buildings, so as to be transparent or hidden. And any proposed new technologies, again, this is going back to philosophy in a culture, we will examine all of those technologies, look at them, debate them, and roll them out very slowly. In our society today, we tend to release something as soon as we can think about it, going through the minimum regulatory approvals to prove no harm. But actually, all of our technology, because it's not tied to this basic sense of love, harmony, and beauty, always has a side effect. There's always a negative or unintended consequence against any technology that you develop if you're not tuned in to this right orientation for developing consciousness and preserving love, harmony, and beauty. And in an advanced society, advanced technologies or products are always made of natural materials with built-in reuse or biodegradable components. If you go to these sacred sites such as Teotihuacan, Machu Picchu, Chaco Canyon, you will run into examples of still functioning ancient technology that is there if you're able to tune into the vibrations that are there, meditate, and you will tune into something. So, talked some of the parameters that are involved in an advanced civilization. Well, how do you get there personally? Well, focus again on those pillars of love, harmony, and beauty. And then see how you can align your life more and more to bring these attributes into yourself and to those around you. You know, what does that mean for you? Does it mean doing artwork, writing poetry, getting into yoga, you know, just going for a walk with your child or whatever, making a break from your busy schedule, all of these things? How can you bring love to yourself and to someone else? How can you bring harmony to yourself or to someone else? And how can you bring beauty to yourself or someone else? Also, on a very practical and active way towards the earth, you know, send good thoughts and send good energy into the earth. Whatever the earth is, if you think it's a, you know, an unconscious rock, or you think of it's the goddess Gaia who's maybe trapped in another form or whatever, this is somehow a common energetic root that all of us on this planet share together. And by sending good energy and good vibrations into the earth, then those good vibrations go through the earth and affect all of the inhabitants, all the beings that live here. Also, stop accepting things in your life that are dumb. Whether this is a work situation, a life situation, a self-defeating habit, something that you know is not really acceptable, whether it's somebody who's in office or the way the whole political system works. Get clear on how you think it should be and stop accepting the way it is now if it's really dumb. And stay optimistic. Always believe that something better is going to come about. In this graphic, the circle and the triangle, I just superimpose this over the pyramid of the moon. And if you spend a few seconds here and really tune in, there's a message here for you. Additional resources that you can take away after this video. Your inner self. That's the best resource you have. All wisdom, all inner knowing is inside of you. Don't just look for wisdom outside of you. The wisdom that you're looking for is inside of you. Get into things like yoga and Reiki and Qigong. These things have had a tremendous impact on my life and on many people's lives that I've talked to. Become familiar with the Tao Te Ching. This is a great ancient book of wisdom. Couple of books for you. We Are All One by Harrison. The Art of Sufism. Burning Water by Sojourn. Being in Vibration by Joseph Rael, The Gates of Paradise by Chimalu. And for more information on biogeometry and measuring or working with energy of space and form, check out vesica.org for information about biogeometry.